Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Crowd Chatter podcast. It is Mitch, and today we're going to review rounds 1 and 2 of the NCAA tournament. Now, I would have done this on Monday, but my mom was using was using this laptop, so I wasn't able to record with it, of course, and also um, I was not feeling the greatest either, so I didn't really feel like making a video in the first place. So I was not able to do it on Monday. I'm recording this on Thursday, which the Sweet 16 is happening today. So I'm going to go really just region by region, reviewing the round 1 and 2 games. And of course, these are my picks for the tournament, so you'll see how accurate I actually was, or maybe if you're on the ESPN tournament group, you'll see it there as well. Um, so our first game here in this region, like I said, I'm only going to go region by region because there's a lot of games, and this video would take like an hour if I went through every single round 1 and 2 game of every region, because that'd be 32 games through the round of 64, and then 16 games through the round of 32. That would be 48 games I'm going to be reviewing. That's a lot in one video. So I'm just going to go region by region. It gives me more time to discuss um, what has happened, what happened in each of the games, and all that. Also, most of you are probably expecting me to make an NFL off season preview for like all the teams going from like the NFC, AFC, North, South, East, West, all that. I will have gone through all those. I really was going to do it after the Super Bowl, but I never really actually got around to doing it right after the Super Bowl. And by the time I was going to do it, there was like 30 billion trades that got made. The league has obviously been very active in the trading world and also the free agent market. So after all kinds of just trades and all that, I just said, you know what, I can't keep up with all this stuff, and I can't keep remaking videos to cover those trades of which I'm missing. So I'm just going to wait until the NFL draft happens, and I'll be doing a review or I'll be doing a round 1 mock draft for the NFL right before the draft. And then after the NFL draft is when I'll do my off-season uh, reviews for all the teams and what they still need to address in the latter half of free agency. But you'd think by then most of the big time free agents have signed somewhere at that point. So that's how I'm going to handle that. So there won't be NFL videos for a while. NBA, the playoffs are in about a month, so we're going to get to that as soon as possible. We've been very busy. I've been very busy with college basketball, and since really most of the time I can only record on Monday, it makes it very, very difficult to really be able to do much else. Um, but let's get started with this first game here in the. I don't even remember what region this is. So let's get started with the first game here, which is the Midwest region. Here in the Midwest, our first game was Gonzaga and Georgia State. The beginning of this game, it was actually surprisingly closer than many would have expected. Gonzaga was having a lot of trouble with Georgia State early. Georgia State had them actually, they were winning. They were beating Gonzaga with like 10 minutes left to go in the second half. Gonzaga, though, eventually took over. They would knock off Georgia State 93-72. You can see my pick is, well, Gonzaga. So I had that pick right. The one below it was the 8-9 game, Boise State and Memphis. Neither of these teams had been in the tournament for quite a few years. Boise State hadn't been in it since 2015. Memphis hadn't been in it since 2014. And I picked Memphis to come up with the win, and that's exactly what happened. They had a 19-point lead at halftime. Boise State would make it close later on, trying to get the win, but would end up falling short. The Tigers would move on to the round of 32. Down in Buffalo, you have Yukon and New Mexico State. Really, both of these, just 5-12, 4-13, both of these matchups are very popular upsets. Um, I actually, though, didn't pick either of them. I picked both the four, or I'm sorry, both the 5 and the 4 to move on. But Yukon, New Mexico State, I had the Huskies. It really should be a capital C because that's what they are. Um, but I had the Huskies moving on, making it to the round of 32. That was not the case. And New Mexico State came up with the upset. They would knock off the Huskies 70-63, I believe, was the final score. And the one below it was Arkansas versus number 13, Vermont. Many people said that since this Vermont team played a similar style to what Colgate did last year, when Colgate nearly knocked off Arkansas when Arkansas was a 3 seed, many people thought that Vermont would do more of the same. Vermont did not. Arkansas would move on. They would knock off the Vermont Catamounts, I believe, is what they are. They would knock off the Catamounts um, by a score. I don't remember what the score was of that game, but Arkansas would come up with the win. Closer game, yeah, there it is, 75-71. Arkansas would come up with the very close win against the Catamounts. Down here, I have Alabama and Rutgers. Now, technically, I did not actually take Rutgers. Technically, I did take the 11 seed. The 11 seed to end up winning was Notre Dame, but I took Rutgers to win this game. They did not. Notre Dame won instead, but I still had. I mean, technically, like ESPN, it doesn't have where you pick the first 4 game. It doesn't let you do that. It only lets you pick the team that actually wins the first 4 game. And I was sticking with Notre Dame, and so that's exactly what happened. The Irish would knock off Alabama. They would pull off the upset. Um, Big win for the Irish. They would move on from the first 4 into the round of 32, and then would end up taking down the Crimson Tide 78-64. Texas Tech would play Montana State. I believe this was Montana State's first appearance in the tournament in a long time or ever. I can't really remember. Either way, it did not end well for Montana State as Texas Tech would win by 35. Yeah, so not good for Texas Tech. Michigan State and Davidson. Some people were kind of split on this one. Some people said that Michigan State would win. Others thought maybe not. I thought Sparties would come up with the win here. It was a lot closer than I expected, as Michigan State would win by 1, 74-73 over Davidson, and then Duke and CSU Fullerton. Obviously, Duke would win this one. It was a 17-point win for the Blue Devils, 78-61 over CSU Fullerton. So now we head up here to the round of 32. You have Gonzaga taking on Memphis. I actually took the Tigers to win this one. I thought this was a bad matchup for Gonzaga. A lot of athleticism for Memphis and guys who can handle Chet Holmgren. And because Gonzaga is in a league of really nobody has the height or size of Chet Holmgren, so it makes it difficult for those teams to be able to deal with someone that kind of size. Memphis has Jalen Duran. Plus, they had Monty Bates, who was on his way back. He had played in that Boise State game. I thought this was a bad matchup for Gonzaga, and it showed that it was, but the Tigers could not come up on top. They had a big lead, just like they did against Boise State. Only difference in this one is when they blew it, they really actually blew the lead. They didn't come back. They didn't take it back. They ended up falling just short, losing by 4 to Gonzaga. I was so disappointed. I so badly wanted Gonzaga to go down. I am not a Gonzaga fan. Arkansas and New Mexico State. New Mexico State, once another Arkansas getting the lower seed here. They played a 13. Now they're playing a 12, and they nearly lost this one too. but but still, Arkansas would escape and would move on. They would knock off New Mexico State by 5. It was an ugly looking shooting game, but Arkansas, the Razorbacks, would still move forward, and that was who I picked. It wasn't necessarily the team that I expected to be there, but or it wasn't necessarily the team I expected to be there for the 5-12 game, but I did have Arkansas going to the Sweet 16. Then you have Texas Tech and what ended up being Notre Dame, not Rutgers. This game was also a very close game. It was very competitive throughout. Notre Dame had a couple leads and had Texas Tech scared, but the Red Raiders would still come up on top. They would knock off the Fighting Irish by 6, 59-53. And then obviously this was the game everybody wanted to see right here. Michigan State and Duke, the last matchup between Tom Izzo and Coach K, the two big time coaches going at it. Coach K's last run, and like I said, the last matchup between two historic, great head coaches. And it was expected to be a very good game, and that's exactly what it was. Michigan State made it very difficult on the Blue Devils. They had some leads. They were very competitive, and they gave Duke all they could handle. But the Blue Devils still prevailed, and as I expected, they moved on to the Sweet 16 to take on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. They would give Coach K his 1,200th win, his 1,200th win. That's a lot of wins. I'm just saying that's a crap ton of wins, and that's quite the accomplishment to have. So this is actually a really short video. So I'm actually going to because obviously already half of this bracket is already wrong. So I'm gonna do the same thing for the final four, for like after the Sweet 16, Elite 8 rounds, and as I'll like repick like the final four and the champion. Um, I might stick with a couple of picks as it is already, but so I'm going to repick some of this. And the first one, so like you know how ESPN has their second chance thing where you can repick like you can repick your bracket and just start with the Sweet 16, basically like a fresh start. I guess that's technically what I'm doing here. The first one on here is Gonzaga and Arkansas. I would take the Arkansas Razorbacks if I would take Arkansas if they had looked better, but they haven't. They have looked terrible in both their matchups against the 12 and against 12 and 13 seeds. That doesn't bode well for Arkansas. I don't see how this goes well for them. They also don't really have someone that has the size of Chet Holmgren, which is a huge problem for them. I think Gonzaga moves on to the Elite Eight pretty easily. And then the other matchup, I still have Texas Tech Duke. I still have Duke. Or I'm sorry, Texas. I have Texas Tech Duke. I had that. It is that, and I'm sticking with the Red Raiders to get to the Elite Eight. And then in this game of a rematch of Gonzaga Texas Tech, I still have the Red Raiders making it to the Final Four. They knock off Gonzaga and go to New Orleans, and then we'll get to the other side of the bracket here. So that's all for me in this one. I will see you guys in the next video. Adios, everyone.